Hello everyone, Ben here and welcome back to our iRacing USF 2000 Championship for round 3 at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Here's the full race calendar then, we're in week 3. You can check out highlights from our races in Tsukuba and the Charlotte Motor Speedway in the top right hand corner of the screen at the moment. But we're here in New Hampshire and wow, what a circuit this is. It's the Roval layout. Let's get over to qualifying and I'll talk you through a lap. Here we are then on the main straight, which is part of the oval circuit. We're going to take the first banked left-hander as you would and as we did last season. Not the best run through here for us. You can feel and hear that we're scrubbing speed off as we go through the corner. But look at this, we turn left here, get on the brakes heavy just as the road splits away from the regular oval course down into first gear, get the car rotated, but then it's a fight to keep the car over the crest of this hill. As there just isn't enough temperature in the tyres at this stage. We're then down into another undulating left-hander, then back up the hill and snaking around the top before we plunge downhill again into a double apex left-hander. We've got the throttle feathered, we're into second gear to just try and give us the turn-in we need at the bottom of the hill, and then we're back into the infield section of the stadium, get the car slowed down and we lose it as we turn in left just towards the end of the lap. And we've binned our qualifying, and that was unfortunately the second lap, so we didn't have time to get another lap. We'd invalidated our first lap, and that's going to mean we start at the back of the grid. In practice we had the pace to be near the front, which, given this is a 1.8k field, does perhaps bode well for the race. But as we come around for this formation lap then, remember, if throughout any point of watching the video you're enjoying what you're seeing, please remember to click that like button and get subscribed so you don't miss a single race that we've got coming up across iRacing and Race Room. But we're coming then to the end of this formation lap and we're about to get going, so let's get to the grid. And here we go, and look at that, there's been a concertina further ahead of us, so we just hung back slightly there, and that's given us a brilliant run down the first straight as this race is now underway. Up at the front of the grid, Greg Seitz is just going to disappear. He's running unbelievable lap times and has got a 7,000 I rating, so he is going to be in a class of 1 as we head into the first big braking zone. And look at that, we've got carnage already. We're going to have to take to the runoff area. We just about avoid hitting any other car. There's a slight bit of contact as both myself and the purple car there behind us are just trying to rejoin. I think that's Pieneman, and we just about make it through safely there. But wow, there was just nowhere to go into that braking zone. Cars seemingly strewn across the road, and thankfully we've been able to keep going without picking up any significant damage. It seems the car up ahead of us really struggling. I think that's Gallagher to get the car turned in. There was another driver, I think, just off to the right hand side there. So despite having a very rough journey through the first braking zone of the lap, I think we've made up some significant positions here. The field has been strung out as a result of that set of incidents, but we'll see when the standings board is updated. And yes, there we go, we're up into 5th position, which, given we qualified right to the back of the grid, is a really pleasing start to this race. We're then down into the braking zone again for the right-hander, off into the road part of the course, up the hill again, and just trying to take things as easy as we can at this stage of the race, because the car is not up to temperature and these undulating banked corners are so tricky because the car is just squirming and sliding on you all the time. There is a way of mastering that. Clearly some of the drivers with more experience in the car up to the front of the grid are doing exactly that. We at the minute just feel like we're hanging on a little bit. I'm trying to close up to Gallagher up ahead. We're coming down then into the final corner of the lap. He's gone round and we've gone round. We followed him round in a sort of synchronized spin towards the end of the lap, and that has cost us big time. We're going to drop right the way to the back of the grid again, and we've got it all to do. Before we focus on that then, let's go back and look at the first lap. But we've thrown away a really big opportunity there of a top 5 by the looks of things. But it was all looking Pretty frantic on this opening lap. Let's take us then into this first braking zone once again. You can see the cars are at least too wide throughout most of the field. There's a few lockups, and that's ultimately what causes the bigger accidents, and then other drivers, including myself, have to take avoiding action. Let's see who then was in the midst of this. Yes, I think we're riding on board then with the car that's ultimately going to get us braking wrong and just plough into another car there. Nothing malicious in that. I think ultimately just getting the braking point wrong. You can see there the Red Bull liveried car had already spanned towards the end of the lap, and that was going to promote us up into 5th place as we came back into the oval section of the lap. But then just one lap later, coming into the same section of the track, we just lose the back end. I was slightly put off by the car spinning ahead, but to be honest, I think I just went in too hot, and the car was not ready to withstand that turning in angle at that speed at this stage of the race. So we rejoin immediately. After rejoining the track, we've just been passed by Peter Franklin, who himself was recovering. But look at this, up in the top right hand corner of the screen, the pop out screen just up ahead of us. This is the Red Bull liveried car just running wide, and he's going to collect the car behind him as well, and that's an accident just around the corner from us here. So we're heading back into danger. We're going to come unsighted up the hill, and we have to take avoiding action once again, and we managed to just thread between the two cars, and in doing so have overtaken Franklin, who was on our left hand side and had to go around the long way in order to avoid getting collected himself. Let's take a little look back at that then, as this start to the race just doesn't let up. He's coming into the corner, then he just comes in too hot. He's too fast into that corner, and that's then going to lead him into a spin off the curbs, and unfortunately the driver behind gets collected. Here we come then through the middle to very fortunately just squeeze through. Here it is from our on board then. And you'll see my wheel action here. I'm not quite sure whether I'm having to go left or right, and we just about thread it through the middle in order to make up those positions. So despite it being quite an extraordinary opening couple of laps where first we had to take avoiding action at the very first braking zone, we managed to thread our way through that, but then we looked like we'd thrown it all away in a very careless spin. We've managed to get back up into 5th position. We're about a third race distance here. There was one more car that had to peel into the pits, and so we've managed to get a good number of positions up on our starting slot, and now we're into a pretty good rhythm. So we're just focusing on trying to close in on the back of Michael Pierneman, who's up ahead of us now. We're running pretty similar pace. We've set a fastest lap time, which is about half a second up on Pierneman, but actually our sort of lap to lap pace is pretty similar at the moment. He's about 3.5 seconds up the road, so I'm just trying to inch closer to him, take a 10th or 2 here and there, and hope really that he makes a bit of a mistake, because if he does, then I think I've got half a chance of potentially getting up into 4th position, which would be phenomenal given everything that has gone on so far in this race. Peter Franklin behind us, he rejoined. He's got a little bit of damage, I think, but he's 4.4 seconds back, so I can probably be reasonably comfortable unless I make another mistake. He's not going to be closing in on us anytime soon. When we look to the front of the grid, Greg Seitz, he is running a phenomenal pace, so he's doing lap times in the 58.9s, and I have no idea how he's doing that. It's a phenomenal pace, fair play to him. But focusing in on our own race then, we're coming round to the end of another lap. We take that snaking downhill section quite nicely there, and we're going to just try and get on the brakes nice and easy. I'm being pretty conservative into this left-hander after my experience earlier on in the race, and it's been pretty well stalemate between Pierneman and I on that lap, so the gap remains around 3.3 seconds as we're into the stadium section again. Try and get a nice run through this banked oval corner. It's a very tricky oval corner this. It seems to go on forever, and there isn't that much banking, but it looks like we've got a better run than Pierneman through there this time round, have we? Or maybe it's just the illusion of going into the braking zone. But yeah, it looks like the time is coming down, and we're about 1.5 seconds behind now, so we've halved the deficit to Michael up ahead as we're coming then into the undulating left-hander. It's a little bit like Portimao, this section of the track. I mean, obviously it's a much tighter, twistier version, but the ups and downs and snaking nature of the corners is a little bit like being on a roller coaster, as we're coming then down into the infield section again. And look at that, the gap is closed right in. We're only 1.2 seconds behind now as we're coming through into the final corner of the lap, and we might be about to get into his slipstream. So we're over half race distance now. This is going to be the key battle. Can we reel Michael Pieneman in and get up into 4th position? Given the strength of field, even coming home in 5th is going to be a pretty good finish for us, I think. We're finishing ahead of some pretty quick drivers as we come down into the braking zone here, and again just close up slightly onto the rear wing. We're getting a better run through this corner as well, I think, carrying more speed, able to get the car a bit more planted, perhaps because we're down into first gear to get the car rotated, so we don't carry so much understeer into that part of the track. And again, we're following very closely behind here, within 3/4 of a second now of Pieneman. I mean, once we're into this part of the track, very difficult to overtake, although he has locked up. We're slightly wide though, that's going to compromise our exit back into the stadium section, but we are within half a second. Get the car slowed down nicely here, don't make the same mistake again. We just about do a little bit of counter steer there to keep us pointing in the right direction, and we're going to finish another lap here around half a second down. So it is game on here. I am going to try and apply as much pressure as I can to Pieneman to just see if we can't force a bit of a mistake. We're taking a shallower line through the oval section there, perhaps not the quickest way through, but it's just giving me a little bit of visibility behind him. We're closing right in on the rear wing. We've never been closer than this in the battle so far, as we come up the hill again to plunge down into the left-hand hairpin. We're going to come through and try and just take a late apex here, but we drift slightly wider. That's going to compromise any attempt that we might have made to close up again on the rear wing of Pieneman through this part of the circuit. So I'm just going to have to be a little bit patient here, try and get a good exit back into the stadium section, and just line up getting into his draft once again as we come around and onto the start-finish straight. The gap is held at around half a second, so it really is pretty intense this. We're not running at the pace of the leaders, but we're running pretty solid times here between the two of us, and we're just hoping, I guess, each of us, that we are able to avoid any mistakes and just keep the car pointing in the right direction. But obviously, for me, if an opportunity arises, I've got to go for it. I'm probably not going to have another one, so if there's any moment where it looks like I can sneak past, I'm going to be quite aggressive here. I'm going to try and force my way through as we come down into the left-hander again, clip the apex on the left-hand side, but he's ran wide on exit, and just as I was saying about an opportunity, we're going to dive to the inside, claim the inside of that corner as we went up the hill. Pieneman gives us plenty of room, full credit to him, great racing. We nearly get a bit overexcited on the way back down the hill, and I just have to correct a bit of oversteer in the car, but we have made up that position. We are in 4th place. What a fantastic result this would be as we come across onto the start finish line once again, and we've only got 4 minutes left of this race, so that will be around 4 racing laps. Let's take a look back then at how that all played out. Just getting 2 tyres into the dust on the right hand side, and although there it looks like a relatively comfortable pass for us, I did have to take a bit of a gamble and put my trust in Pieneman that he wasn't going to cut back across onto the apex. Thankfully he didn't, and we darted up the inside to take the position. We're going to rejoin then on the very last lap of the race for us. The white flag there just waving as we cross the start finish line, and we're going to just try and bring this one home. We've managed to build a gap to Pieneman in about 1.5 seconds, so we should be relatively comfortable to him. Sean Ross up ahead, he's about 11 seconds up the road. We might have been able to challenge him as we just now see Sights crossing the start finish line to finish the race just as we're coming onto the road section. Phenomenal pace from him, well done. But as I was saying, Sean Ross in 3rd place. Maybe if we hadn't had those incidents, we might have been able to keep pace with him, but I seem to think really that he would have been too fast for us. So 4th place, realistically, the very best we could have expected today, all things considered. Add in the kind of drama we had in the first half of the race, and wow, I'm really pleased with this. It should be a good haul of championship points. It should be a good bump to the I rating as we come onto the start-finish straight for the final time, and we take the checkered flag in 4th place.
Okay, that's the finish. Well done, mate.
Here then are the final classifications. You can see then we come home in 4th, nearly, not quite, but nearly a lap down, just a few more laps, and I think Sites would have lapped us there, but a good haul of championship points. Here's the summary then of our I rating, up to 1,369, 3.6 safety rating in the C class, and we're in 4th in the championship. Now this is early in the week, so others will then take to the track and probably displace us, but not a bad start to the season at all. I hope you've enjoyed the race. I certainly did. It's a fantastic circuit. If you have, leave a like, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the future rounds of the championship, and I will see you next time.